Earlier this summer, more than a dozen communities in northwest Iowa and southeast South Dakota were flooded after heavy rain fell across the upper Midwest. Floodwaters rose from the Big and Little Sioux Rivers, Rock River, the James and Vermilion Rivers. Communities like Spencer, Rock Valley, Hayward, and Cherokee, all in Iowa, felt the brunt of those floodwaters. Areas in South Dakota, McCook Lake and Jefferson also feeling the devastation. Now, these areas were inundated with water within hours. Still, months later, many wonder how and why it all happened. In the final piece of a four-part series, KTV's Katie Koppel takes us to Gavins Point Dam with more tonight on how the most recent round of flooding was out of its control.
You look at the expanse of the Missouri River Basin, covers 9 states and like 22% of the whole geographic area of the United States. Now you take that as a weather map, there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen and change, and those are all dynamics, but they get magnified here because this is the last stop.
The floods of 2024 brought widespread damage to Siouxland, from the Iowa Great Lakes to McCook Lake, South Dakota. But what made this flood different from others, like the Missouri River floods of 2011 and 2019? Michael Moose Welch is the Operations Project Manager with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at the Gavins Point Project.
We try to react what we can, but sometimes we just can't.
Heavy rain north of Siouxland flooded tributaries and smaller rivers, leaving all of that water with no place to go, and downstream of Gavins Point Dam.
Right, we're talking about historic flows on unregulated tributaries into the Missouri River. And so it is hitting a lot of tributaries that flow unregulated into the Missouri. So there's only a certain amount of part of that river that we can control.
In a news conference in North Sioux City, South Dakota on Sunday, June 23rd, officials expected the Big Sioux River to crest at 42.1 feet at 1 p.m. on June 24th. In reality, it crested hours after that June 23rd news conference at 44.84 feet, the highest ever recorded, sending a wall of water into McCook Lake, causing catastrophic damage.
This is where we lose control of what happens. And again, in the story on McCook Lake, even Mitchell, where it rained, is 70 miles east of where the river is in Chamberlain, South Dakota. So it was obviously a horrendous, but hopefully unique event that happened at that time.
The question from many this summer was, why didn't the Army Corps do more to stop the flood from happening? Releases from Fort Peck, the next dam above Gavins Point, were shut down, and the lake above Gavins Point was full.
In the situation with McCook Lake, we were already at 1210, which is our lake level, normally, 7 to 10, but at 1210, that's as much as the bucket holds, and then it starts coming over the top of the spillway gates. So it's a dynamic moving equation all the time.
Welch took me to the top of the spillway where the lake meets the river to get a closer look.
Right now we're at 1207. So from the lake to the top of the gate is about 3 feet. So when we went the event in June, we were right at like 1209.6. So we had about 6 inches left in the top of the gate. And so basically we were full.
From the floods of 2011 to today to the future, the Army Corps does what it can to prevent flooding, but there are a lot of factors out of their control. At Gavins Point Dam in Yankton, South Dakota, with Chief Videographer Acacia Phillips, Katie Koppel, KTIV News 4.
And this entire four-part series from Gavins Point Dam, including a look back at the Missouri River floods of 2011 and 2019, plus history of the dam and a tour of the power plant, can be found online right now at ktiv.com.